Rewind to 1987 when a new hip cartoon show came out called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? When I first heard about it, I thought it sounded really stupid. I didn't even know the word mutant. Until I saw it spelled, I thought it was Newton, like Fig Newtons, the snack food. Obviously, we all know TMNT started with the comics, but most of us at the time never heard about it until the show. In fact, it was the action figures that got me interested. I got Donatello and a foot soldier. I'd make them fight each other for hours, so I was already making up my own turtle stories with my own imagination. Then I decided to check out what all the hype was about and give this new show a watch. Instantly, I was hooked, and Ninja Turtles became my new obsession for years to come. I remember the bumper that always came on before the commercials.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will return after these messages.
What was up with that voice? It's not Shredder, and it doesn't belong to any Ninja Turtle character I know. Season 1 consisted of 5 episodes. Each of these episodes continues from where the last one left off. It's like one whole story. In fact, all 5 of these episodes were edited together as one self-contained feature and released on VHS titled The Epic Begins. How do I even summarize what happens? Hamato Yoshi is a sensei in a ninja clan known as the Foot. He's framed for murder by his rival Oroko Saki. He takes refuge in the sewers of New York City where his only friends are rats and 4 pet turtles. Yoshi and the turtles come in contact with a radioactive substance known as mutagen, which turns Yoshi into a rat, and the turtles into mutant turtles who like to eat pizza. Yoshi names them after famous Renaissance painters and trains them in martial arts. They make friends with a snooping reporter in a yellow banana raincoat. They tell her the same thing I just told you, and she's like, okay, let's be friends now. Oroko Saki covers himself head to toe in metal and spikes, starts calling himself the Shredder, takes command of the Foot Clan, and has them pillage New York City. He makes friends with a talking brain from another dimension who has an army made of rock. He wages a war against Splinter and his turtles using a never-ending supply of robot ninjas and a mutated warthog and rhinoceros. Damn, this is a weird show when you think about it. Splinter's origin story differs from the comics. In the show, he was Hamato Yoshi, whereas in the comics, Splinter was always a rat, a pet of Hamato Yoshi. Also in the comics, Hamato Yoshi was killed by Oroko Saki. In the show, they took a lighter tone. It's for kids, so nobody's allowed to die. Even the foot soldiers were made into robots. That way they can kill them all they want, dismember body parts, and take off their heads. Speaking of lightening the tone, in Europe they weren't even allowed to say the word ninja, so it was called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. Yeah, ninja is a really violent, offensive word, isn't it?
That is how they became the Teenage Mutant Turtles.
This season introduced other characters such as Baxter Stockman, a scientist who invents a bunch of rat-catching robots named Mousers. Baxter. Sounds like bastard. That's what a lot of my friends used to call him. In the second season, Krang has him thrown into a disintegration chamber, but a fly gets in with him. Their body cells merge and Baxter becomes a mutant fly. There's no way they got that idea from the movie The Fly now, did they? Baxter became a regular villain in the series. Also introduced in the first season were the Turtles' friends, the Neutrinos, hot-rodding alien teenagers. This is my least favorite part of the first season. The season finale was epic. It's the pure essence of what great 80s cartoons were all about. There's a lot at stake. Krang's trying to open a portal to his homeworld, Dimension X, a hellish wasteland. He wants to unleash his army of rock soldiers on Earth. Shredder has a retro-mutagen ray gun that reverses mutations. He lures the turtles with it, saying it's the only thing that can restore Splinter to his human form, but plans to use it to turn the turtles back into ordinary turtles. Krang's been bugging Shredder the whole season to build him a new body. We never figure out exactly what happened to his old body, but now Shredder finally agrees in exchange for Krang's help fighting the turtles. So he builds this robot body based on Krang's specifications, puts Krang in its stomach of all places, and zaps it with electricity in a scene lifted directly from Frankenstein.
It's alive! It's alive!
As a kid, this was my first time hearing those famous words, without knowing where it originally came from.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Krang's body is equipped with a molecular amplification chip that enlarges his body to giant size, then goes on a rampage through the city in a scene taken straight out of a Godzilla movie.
Oh, where's Godzilla when you really need him?
The Turtles try to stop him. Meanwhile, Splinter faces Shredder. In the end, the Turtles are able to destroy Krang's growth chip, shrinking him back to normal size. Just when Shredder's about to use his ray gun against the Turtles, Splinter destroys it, sacrificing his chances at being human again. Just when Krang's portal to Dimension X is opening, Donatello uses his technical skills to reverse the portal and send all the villains into Dimension X. This was the classic first season, a unique little show that blew up into a franchise. It continued on with 10 seasons total, all with more episodes than the first. Countless new characters were introduced along the way, and it took full advantage of its merchandising opportunities. It seemed every episode was trying to sell another action figure.
Don't tell me they're now making toys of those nasty turtles.
They made toys of every character you can imagine, even Ace Duck, who's just a fictional character on the TV. You only see him for a few seconds. Many of the vehicles also became toys. The Turtle Van, the Mutant Module, the Technodrome, the Footski, the Turtle Tube, and the Retro Catapult.
Prepare to face the Retro Catapult!
A gizmo that flings garbage?
Then there's the Turtle Comms, which the Turtles used to contact one another. Even those became a toy. The weird thing is that the Turtle Comms actually became real. Today, we call them cell phones. Before I get too ahead of myself, let me talk about the main characters. Of course, we have the 4 Turtles. They're all given distinct personalities and different colored bandanas to differentiate one another, whereas in the comics, they all wore red bandanas. Michelangelo's my favorite. He's the one I'd like to hang out with. Why do you think they used him for that weird anti-drug TV special, Cartoon All-Stars?
Cowabunga, dude!
Remember that? All these different cartoon characters get together to teach a kid not to do drugs. I remember when that thing aired, I was so happy they chose Michelangelo to represent the Turtles. So, why pick him as the role model for kids? I guess because Michelangelo is the most friendly and the most fun. Ironically, he seems like the only turtle that would do drugs. He has some weird quirks. He's obsessed with pizza, even more than the other turtles. He loves pizza so much, it gets to the point where it's almost disturbing.
Deep dish oatmeal pizza with grapefruit topping!
He's also the coiner of the phrase cowabunga, which he uses way too often.
Cowabunga! 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 Well, to be honest, I'm getting kind of bored with it. Hey, how about this? Yabba dabba!
Raphael's charismatic for the opposite reason. He's an asshole, and that's the way we like him.
Still think you'd like to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Donatello's the scientist of the group, always inventing gadgets. Sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't.
See, you put the Parmesan here, and presto!
A lot of times when Krang and Shredder are about to fulfill one of their evil schemes, Donatello saves the day by reprogramming a computer or reversing the polarity of some magnetic wave or something. He gives some kind of technical explanation and that's it. So Donatello really comes in handy as a plot convenience. My favorite interactions are between Raphael and Michelangelo. Usually Raph makes some kind of wise-ass joke to insult Michelangelo. Also, I love it when Donatello speaks technobabble and it goes over Mikey's head.
Michelangelo, you can't see Shell-Rila through that dinky little telescope. It's millions of light years away.
But it only took us an hour to get there in the Turtleoid spaceship.
Well, that's because their spaceship uses a transwarp drive which generates a flux in the space-time continuum.
Excuse me?
Oh, and there's Leonardo too, the honorable leader. I never liked him that much. He's kind of dull, and I never felt the Turtles should have had a leader. I consider them 4 equals, with Splinter being their master. Still, Leonardo does have his moments of being badass.
Give me your money.
I've got a better idea. Give me your knife.
It's yours.
Splinter, now we're talking. The classic mentor archetype. You picture him as being calm, offering words of wisdom, but really, Splinter is an unpredictable maniac.
Let's party.
One minute he's meditating, then he's flipping out.
No!
You never know what he's gonna do. He usually stays out of the action. You don't see Splinter fight that often, and that's what makes him great. When you do see him fight, he always kicks ass. When he isn't fighting, his mastery is implied.
Michelangelo ate all our pizzas again.
You were warned, Michelangelo. I shall have to apply Kung Pao.
Kung Pao!
Kung Pao? What is that? This rat has so many tricks up his sleeve, I'd be afraid to live in the same sewers as him. Aside from being threatening, he's also extremely funny.
I finally worked out the antidote.
Pray that it works, my son. The fate of April, your brother Turtles, and the entire world rests on its success. But don't feel you're under any pressure.
April O'Neil is a television reporter at the anonymous Channel 6. She usually ends up reporting on some horrible mutation or some kind of alien invasion, stuff that would normally send someone into a panic. But to her, it's just work. She loves her job. She goes above and beyond. Not only is she the reporter, she's also the camera operator sometimes. That's usually because the real camera operator, Vernon, is too chicken to come with her on dangerous assignments.
All right, that's a wrap. Can we please go now?
But April loves danger. If there's some serious shit going on, she's there with her camera. As a result of her fearless behavior, she gets into trouble. A lot. She gets captured by Shredder, or some other thing happens that calls the Turtles into action.
Have those Stone Warriors nab April O'Neil.
Not a bad idea. Although we've done that at least 30 times before, but hey, who's counting?
I mean, really, half the plots all stem from problems that April caused. Stupid yellow banana raincoat wearing bitch.
You made it funny.
Then there's the rest of the people who work at Channel 6. Byrne, Vernon, and Irma. Say that really fast. Byrne, Vernon, Irma. Byrne, Vernon, Irma. Byrne Thompson's the boss. He hates the Ninja Turtles and thinks they're a menace to society. There's always got to be some jackass who doesn't appreciate the hero. It's like Mr. Jameson in Spider-Man. In the first season, he's just a short-tempered boss. In the second season, they develop his character further and make him more into a sleazeball. He has this girlfriend who's like half his age. She's his weakness. He obeys everything she says. Now the thing is, she hates turtles for whatever reason we don't know, and that's where he gets his grudge against the Ninja Turtles and tries to portray them as enemies through the media. We can see deep down inside he knows it isn't true. The girlfriend leaves him after he orders a turtle soup.
What? I knew you were a lousy turtle lover. Goodbye!
But the grudge he has against the Turtles proved to be such a great character dynamic that it was kept for the rest of the series.
Every time that lunatic Shredder makes trouble, it's because of you freaks!
Vernon, or Vern, is April's co-worker. Just looking at him, I feel like laughing. He looks like a descendant of Ichabod Crane from the Disney cartoon. He's always competing with April for the boss's favor, but his weakness is that he's a coward. He always acts like a jerk and makes corny jokes.
I really hate pulling those nasty tricks on April. Not!
Yes, he made a not joke. Usually Vernon is a minor character, there for comedic relief, but sometimes he can be more involved. There's an episode where Byrne and Vernon are abducted by alien impersonators from outer space.
Hound dog.
And there's another one where they're both mutated into turtles. At the end of the episode, they're changed back.
I'm human again! I'm normal!
Human, yes. Normal, no.
Irma is another co-worker and good friends with April. She's a klutz, always stepping on people's feet and causing chaos in the Channel 6 newsroom. She's like a female Steve Urkel.
Ow!
As a kid, I used to hate this character. I felt she had no purpose. But now, I can't get enough of her.
Get out there now!
Can we stop for lunch first, Chief?
Fat chance!
The news business is doing wonders for my diet.
There are some episodes that revolve around her. In Super Irma, she becomes a superhero. She grows giant in Attack of the 50-Foot Irma, a parody of the 50s sci-fi stinker Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Sorry.
The funniest thing about Irma is she's obsessed with finding a boyfriend. At the mere thought of any guy, she gets all spacey.
Oh, I am so sorry. I didn't realize you had company. Quite a hunk.
The Channel 6 scenes are like a sitcom. All you need is a laugh track.
Ow!
Oops, sorry.
You klutz!
I don't know which is funnier, that or the villain's lair, the Technodrome. Krang, Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady are like a dysfunctional family.
Lean to the left. Lean to the right. Stand up, sit down, fight.
Take it! Ow! There you go.
Krang and Shredder are like the mom and dad. I'm not sure which is which. You be the judge.
Are you out of your skull?
It's undeniable. They bicker like an old married couple.
I don't have to take this abuse from the likes of you!
And I don't have to be insulted by an octopus like you.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Ever since the first season finale, when they're sent into Dimension X, Krang is the boss, because they're in his homeworld. It kind of demotes Shredder as the secondary villain, but you can say Krang and Shredder are an equal pair. They're made for each other.
You're gonna pay for it big time!
I never realized how purple picks up the lavender in your eyes.
Oh, thank you, dear.
When Krang and Shredder argue, Bebop and Rocksteady actually get jealous.
I ain't used to hearing the boss get chewed out.
Me neither. Usually it's us.
There's only one thing to do.
Why, you imbecilic, bug-brained idiots! Look what you've done!
Like many of the characters, Bebop and Rocksteady were played for comedic relief. I always felt they should have been stronger than the Turtles. The Turtles should actually fear them, but instead, they always outsmart them.
Oh boy, it's the Snipes, my favorite.
There's an episode called Bebop and Rocksteady Conquer the Universe, where they actually do become threatening villains for once, but it takes a fear-inducing machine to make it happen. Most of the time, it's Bebop and Rocksteady who are afraid of everything else. Bebop always yells, "Mama!" I wonder how many times they've recycled that same audio clip. Bebop and Rocksteady are a comedy duo like Laurel and Hardy. Even Shredder is a goofball. You'd think a guy who wears gauntlets and spikes would be intimidating, but instead, he's a wimp. The Turtles don't even take him seriously and make fun of his costume all the time.
Guess again, frying pan face!
It's Shredder! What do you want, you metal-faced misfit?
I always thought that thing in front of his mouth was metal, but in one of the episodes he takes it off, and it seems like it's some kind of bandana. There's a fun fact for you. He's always acting like a baby.
But I want to destroy the Turtles!
It doesn't help when they actually turn him into a baby.
I need to grow up!
Or a fly.
I'm a fly!
There's even an episode that involves Shredder's mom. We don't need to know the villain's mom. It's not something that happens. Do we ever hear about Skeletor's mom? Or Ganon? Megatron? Or Mumra? I don't think so. He has a way with words. Shredder is a walking dictionary of insults.
Fools, imbeciles, cretins, those wretched reptiles, you cretin, you will pay for this insolence.
When I was a kid, I never even heard words like insolent.
You insolent idiots!
So the show was quite a lesson in vocabulary. Shredder is a clown. If you were to take all those silly 80s villains and put them together into one kingdom, Shredder would be the court jester. My favorite character is Krang. Whenever I see a shot of the Technodrome, I get excited just knowing I'm about to see some Krang goodness. I'm surprised that Krang was an exclusive character to the cartoon series. He's never been in any of the movies, and apparently he wasn't in the comics, although there was a race of brain creatures in android bodies, but as far as I know, none of them were Krang. Krang is a powerful villain, usually giving orders to Shredder. He rarely ever engages in combat with the Turtles. He's always in the Technodrome observing everything that's going on. He's able to be both dominant and funny.
Sometimes I really crack myself up.
A lot of it has to do with the voice, the way he changes pitch and accentuates certain syllables. It's made me piss myself laughing.
This is no ordinary mountain we're stuck on. It's a volcano.
Here, Krang, the Lithium-90.
Give it here, give it.
The funniest moments are actually more subtle.
Yes, Shredder. What can we do for you?
Sometimes you catch him at odd times. Maybe he's watching a soap opera, or he's in the shower.
You got me out of the shower. This had better be good.
Bottom line, gotta love Krang.
I made her funny.
That takes care of the characters. Check in for part 2 of my Ninja Turtles retrospective. We'll take a look at some more running themes in the show.
Heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
We now return to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Welcome to part 2 of my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original series retrospective. In the first part, I talked about the first season and all the main characters in the show. Now, let's look at some running themes. The Technodrome is a huge part of the show. It's the bad guys' battle station. It's like the Death Star. It's the one thing that nobody laughs about. When the Technodrome rolls in, it's like Judgment Day. The Technodrome has all sorts of devices. Missiles, transporters to other dimensions, rooms where mutagens created, and what is that giant eye on the top for anyway? It's all such a mystery. It's like anything can happen there. The genius part is that the show never overuses the Technodrome, so the Turtles are always dreading when it will show up next. It's like impending doom. That's what keeps the show interesting, that feeling that something's going to happen. The Turtles have to find a way to stop the Technodrome, but all they can do is keep it at bay until the next time it shows up. Either it's stuck in Dimension X, or it's in the core of the Earth, or the North Pole, or at the bottom of the ocean. Wherever it ends up, it's never defeated permanently. Ninja Turtles was always a funny show, catering towards kids, but as it went on, the comedy went completely overboard.
Have a donut!
There was a certain age where I grew out of Ninja Turtles and stopped watching it because it was too corny. But now, looking back, I get a kick out of all the lame jokes. One of the main reasons I enjoy it now is because I get to laugh. It's so unfunny that it's funny.
Roll cameras!
I've always wanted to say that.
In the third season, there's an episode called Mutagen Monster. This one might hold a record. Just because there's a bull in it, they use every cow joke imaginable.
Cowabunga! With the accent on cow.
What a lot of bull! Where's the beef?
Now that's taking the bull by the horns.
How do you steer a steer?
I'm with you, dude. Let's hoof it.
Gee, boss, this place has sure been wrecked.
Yeah, utterly.
In the fourth season, there's an episode called Raphael Knocks Him Dead. Here, it seems the writers had a huge reserve of jokes they were trying to use, so they made Raphael a stand-up comedian just to get them all out.
You know the best place to raise turtles? In an elevator. You know what you get if you cross a turtle with a mousetrap? A snapping turtle.
A lot of the jokes have to do with breaking the fourth wall, tearing down that invisible barrier that separates the audience from the characters.
I wasn't explaining it to you. I was explaining it to them.
Oh, get real, dude. We already fell for that once this episode.
The Turtles know they're in a cartoon and mention every nuance about the show's production.
Wow, they must have spent their entire budget on this one episode.
Yeah, next time I wish the writers would come up with a better plot device.
Does this mean the show will only be half as long next week?
They even comment on the transitions.
Is this gonna be a flashback?
Nah, just a dissolve.
Then there's weird jokes where the Turtles actually hear things they shouldn't.
An island, clouded in mist, where I fear our turtles are in grave danger.
What was that?
Just a voiceover.
Even their own theme song is mentioned.
I also know their birthdays, their weapons, and I can hum that stupid theme song.
Also, there's a part where they pinpoint an episode number.
Which was entirely your doing, I might add.
Yeah, I remember. Episode 74.
The funny thing is that he's wrong. Episode number 74 was Planet of the Turtles. The Slash episode he was referring to was number 83. I guess they didn't think anybody would actually check. There was no internet back then, so nobody was keeping track anyway. Breaking the fourth wall is something that happens almost as often as the Turtles eat pizza. The episode that may hold the record is Turtles, Turtles Everywhere.
Sure, we're heroes in a half shell. Remember the theme song?
Whoa, isn't this music excellent?
I shall be invincible.
What a cornball. Who writes that guy's dialogue anyway?
They mention the music, the dialogue, it never stops. There's no fourth wall to be broken anymore. The wall is long gone. The show also exercises ridiculous logic when it comes to disguises. When the turtles go out on the streets, they wear human clothing. Lucky for them, nobody notices their green mutant faces. Sometimes they wear those classic Groucho Marx noses and glasses. Sometimes it's rubber Tor Johnson masks. Other times it's hard hats and beards. Even though the turtles get away with some pretty obvious disguises, they also happen to be total idiots when it comes to recognizing someone else in a disguise. It's Bebop! God damn! Can't they tell this old lady has a real ugly warthog face? There's an episode called Pizza by the Shred where Shredder pretends to run a pizzeria to attract the turtles. They can't tell that's Shredder's hand? Or voice? Or eyes? Sometimes it's the opposite problem. Michelangelo puts on a stupid outfit and they think it's Shredder? Then there's an episode where April meets the evil turtle Slash and she thinks it's one of the Ninja Turtles.
Where did you get that stupid disguise?
Miscellaneous odd moments? Well, there's an episode where Bebop calls Dimension X from an ordinary phone, in human form in a potato suit, by the way. There's an episode called Atlantis Awakes, which in itself is weird because they go to Atlantis twice in the series, and each time it looks different. But anyway, the turtles don't believe Michelangelo when he sees a talking fish creature.
You'll never guess what I just met. He's got this big tail and gills and...
Michelangelo, are you sure you haven't had one too many pizzas?
They meet creatures all the time. Why is this one so unbelievable? Sometimes you watch a cartoon as an adult and notice innuendos you weren't aware of as a kid. Ninja Turtles is not one of those shows, but I found some close swears. Shredder almost said, "Ah, fuck."
Yeah, you better tell us quick, brain face, or we will tie your tentacles in knots.
What was that? Tie your testicles in knots?
We will tie your tentacles in knots.
Oh, it's tie your tentacles in knots.
Let me give you a hand, or better yet, a finger.
Oh, you mean the middle finger?
Do you have any last words?
I can think of a few, but they're not appropriate for television.
Ooh, she's thinking of some dirty words. Oh, come on, a real snow job? Whenever the turtles point at something, they're always giving the finger. Yeah, they only have 3 fingers, so what do you call that? The middle finger.
You got it! Come on, shitheads!
Did he say shitheads?
Come on, shitheads!
Oh, it's probably chipheads.
Hurry up! We can't hold this fucking bag of bolts much longer!
This fucking bag of bolts?
Fucking bag of bolts!
I guess it's bucking bag of bolts?
And I'm gonna get my revenge on you little possum pussies.
What?
Possum pussies.
Okay, it sounds like he's saying possum pussies, but what's he really saying?
Possum pussies. Possum pussies.
Possum pussies. He says it. I didn't know you could say pussy in a cartoon, unless you're talking about a cat.
Pussy.
Kitty, kitty, kitty. Yeah, pussy, 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 pussy.
Oh, lovely pussy, what a beautiful pussy you are. Oh, lovely pussy, what a beautiful pussy you are.
Another big part of the show is its constant monster movie references. Half the titles sound like B-movies from the 1950s. The Incredible Shrinking Turtles, It Came From Beneath the Sewers, Curse of the Evil Eye, Invasion of the Punk Frogs, Teenagers from Dimension X, Catwoman from Channel 6, Plan 6 from Outer Space. And when you stop and think about it, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles itself sounds like a B-movie. Some of the titles are taken from actual movies. Return of the Fly was in fact a 1959 sequel to The Fly starring Vincent Price. The Beginning of the End was a 1957 flick about giant grasshoppers directed by Bird-Eye Gordon. The Turtles episodes were nothing like their movie counterparts. The Turtles are big fans of monster movies. Down in the sewers, that TV is their only source of entertainment.
All right! Way to go, Wolfman!
It's the perfect thing to go along with their cravings for pizza. They watch monster movies all the time.
We've already missed half of bad-tempered vegetable zombies from Mars!
Hey, dude, we're right in the middle of brain-dead rutabagas from beneath the sea.
And if they're not watching them, they're talking about them.
Oh, Invasion of the Radioactive Rats. perfect.
They have a poster on their wall of a three-headed dragon, which I'm guessing is supposed to be King Ghidorah from the Godzilla franchise. It's not just a casual reference, this poster is on the wall for most of the series. If you pay attention to the backgrounds, you're always bound to see some kind of made-up horror movie title, such as Kung Fu Commandos vs. the Chainsaw Cheerleaders. I'd like to see that movie. Even though most of the movies the Turtles talk about are completely made up, sometimes the show references actual movies, like Phantom of the Opera.
There's just no privacy in these sewers anymore.
The episode Were Rats from Channel 6 makes a direct reference to the gypsy fortune teller Maliva from The Wolfman.
Don't you know? Even a man who's pure at heart and locks his doors at night may become a rat when the ratbane blooms and the moon is full and bright.
Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night
may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms.
and the autumn moon is bright.
So you know that one too, huh?
Of course.
There's an episode called Nightmare in the Lair, which has a character called Creepy Eddie, which is an obvious tribute to Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street films. In the episode The Big Break-In, there's a flying alien machine that looks exactly like the Martian warships in War of the Worlds, right down to their green laser blasts. In the case of the killer pizzas, alien eggs hatch on pizzas and grow into monsters that look just like the creatures in the Alien movies. The episode Invasion of the Turtle Snatchers is full of all kinds of science fiction references. The aliens are named Klaatu, Barada, and Nikto, which are the classic words used to stop the robot Gort in The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Klaatu, Barada, Nikto.
The baby alien's toy, capable of destroying the world, looks like the monolith in 2001, A Space Odyssey. There's a crazy episode called Rondo in New York, which is a tribute to all the Universal Studio monsters.
No, turtle blood is bad for you!
And Rambo. Well, here he's named Rondo, and he's supposed to only exist inside a movie, but Krang and Shredder use some kind of substance that brings the movie to life. Ninja Turtles made a habit of referencing all kinds of movies, like The Wizard of Oz.
There's no place like home!
Ghostbusters.
Who are you gonna call? Gator Busters?
The Terminator.
I'll be back.
Back to the Future.
Jams the flux capacitor.
The Simpsons.
Well, don't have a cow, man.
Wrong show.
Transformers.
The Transformers. The robots that turn into barnyard machinery.
And especially Star Wars and Star Trek.
April has got triple trouble. Donatello, you've been watching way too many reruns of Star Trek.
They play video games a lot too. Sometimes the sound effects are taken from the Atari 2600 version of Pac-Man.
All we need to do is get inside, place the 4 transwarp thrusters at the base of the Channel 6 building.
My favorite is this little made-up game.
What, dude? That's my Kung Fu Surfers video game!
Awesome. That takes care of most of the recurring things that happen in the series. Check in for part 3, we'll skim through the rest of the season highlights and wrap things up. Welcome to part 3, the conclusion to my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original series retrospective. I talked about the main characters and all the recurring themes in the entire series. Now it's time to go through all the seasons in order and mention any highlights that didn't get mentioned before. We already took care of Season 1, so let's move on. In Season 2, the Technodrome is in Dimension X. Krang always has to send Shredder to Earth to do his biddings. Shredder begs Krang to send him his army to help, but Krang says he doesn't get jack shit until he proves himself. So most of the show depends on Shredder trying to make Krang happy and trying to fulfill his revenge against the Turtles and Splinter. Unlike Season 1, it doesn't follow as much continuity. Most episodes are their own self-contained stories. However, there is a 4-parter, the first being The Incredible Shrinking Turtles, which is a tribute to the movie The Incredible Shrinking Man. An alien crashes to Earth and tells the Turtles they must find the pieces of a ship before Shredder gets it, because it'll give him unstoppable power. He calls these fragments the Eye of Sarnath. Gee, that sounds familiar. Shredder gets his hands on one of the pieces and discovers that its power can shrink people, so the Turtles have to survive in miniature form. Over the next few episodes, they locate all the pieces, and then the show goes back to self-contained episodes. This season also introduced the Punk Frogs in Invasion of the Punk Frogs. This is interesting because you see Shredder out of his costume.
My name is Shredder.
The final episode of Season 2, Return of the Technodrome, is an exciting finale. The Turtles break into the Technodrome, which is now back on Earth. Splinter and Shredder have another confrontation, which makes explicit reference to Star Wars. They can both sense each other like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader.
I sense that my ancient enemy, Hamato Yoshi, is nearby.
The last scene with them on the bridge looks just like the interior of the Death Star. In the end, the Technodrome is sent into the Earth's core. Season 3 was the longest season of the entire series. 47 episodes. I don't even understand how they were able to finish that many in 1 year. This was the fall of 1989, which seemed like the peak of Ninja Turtles. At least this is when I was the most obsessed with the show. It introduced more classic characters like the Rat King, Leatherhead, Metalhead, and Casey Jones.
You'll do time for this, lawbreaker.
Then there's other characters that I don't care for as much, like Usagi Yojimbo and Mr. Og, an alien that laughs like Pee Wee Herman. Season 3 was a mixed bag. It had some good episodes and some bad ones. One of the funniest was Cowabunga Shredhead, where Shredder is accidentally zapped by a computer program and starts thinking he's Michelangelo.
I brought back some takeout, so let's get down and pig out.
It's Shredder!
Where?
There was a similar plot in the old Switcheroo, where Shredder and Splinter's personalities were switched.
Are you alright, Master Splinter?
Of course, you fools!
One of the worst episodes was the Case of the Hot Kimono, where April and her aunt have to find a robe that was stolen from Splinter. The best episodes were the 3-part finale, the big ripoff, the big break-in, and the big blowout. The Technodrome is at full power and going on a rampage. It's probably the closest it's came to conquering the world. It grows legs and attacks Mount Rushmore, Splinter's hanging on top, the World Trade Center is used as an antenna to open Dimension X, almost sucking in the entire Earth. This is some crazy stuff.
Holy guacamole!
Us kids at the time were lucky to get such a mind-blowing cartoon. Shredder and Splinter fight it out again in an area that looks just like Luke and Darth Vader's fight in Empire Strikes Back. In the end, the Technodrome is sent back into Dimension X, where it's accidentally shot upon by rock soldiers. This is a great trio of episodes, action-packed and relatively serious, without much comedy padding. A great way to finish out the Turtles' biggest season. It never got as good as this again. Unless you count the live-action movie which followed in the spring of 1990.
Awesome!
The movie ignored the cartoon for the most part and took its source from the original comics. It was darker, more violent, it had some cussing, and it was the perfect progression for Ninja Turtles. It was like the big kids version, time to grow up. When Season 4 came out, the show went through significant changes. Before, it was in syndication and played on weekdays after school. Now it was on CBS on Saturday mornings. Also, it started airing in 1-hour blocks with 2 episodes back to back. The intro was changed for the first time. The theme song was the same, but the animation was completely different. At the end, there were PSAs, like one of the Turtles would teach a kid not to litter or something like that. I guess they tried to make the show more educational. The first episode produced for the new season was Plan 6 from Outer Space. At the end, the Turtles win a trip to Europe. Following is a string of episodes where they go all over Europe, to Italy, France, Greece, England, and get little history lessons along the way. Like here, Splinter's giving them a lecture about St. Patrick.
One of the most famous is that of St. Patrick. It is said he drove all the snakes and reptiles out of Ireland.
Bummer.
For whatever reason, these 13 episodes were put on hold and released at a later time, close to Season 7. They were aired on USA's Cartoon Express, and to this day, they don't even have a real season number. So, we just call them the Vacation in Europe Side Season. To make things even more confusing, the first episode of Season 4 wasn't the first to air, nor was the second, nor was the third. It was the 14th friggin' episode, Son of Return of the Fly 2. I distinctly remember watching it when it first came on. It was a fresh new season of Ninja Turtles, but I gradually got bored with it. Just the way kids are, I guess. We go through phases and lose interest in certain things. It's not to say I disliked the 4th season, I just felt it was starting to go downhill. It may have had something to do with how awesome the movie was. It made my expectations for the show much higher.
God, I love being a turtle!
For some reason, Michelangelo stops using his nunchucks as often, and now it's a grappling hook. I've heard they removed the nunchucks from the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles versions, but from this point on, universally, the grappling hook was his main weapon. Ask anybody, what is Michelangelo's weapon? Anyone will say nunchucks, but the truth is, he only used the nunchucks as his main weapon the first 3 seasons, and that's it. Was the reason because they thought nunchucks were too violent? What about Raphael's sais or Leonardo's katana blades? Are those any less violent than nunchucks? Irma actually gets into a romantic relationship in Name That Tune. It's some musician named Howie Hardy.
Why can't I be a teenager with a shell?
He might possibly be the worst character in the history of Ninja Turtles. They even brought him back in a second episode. Menace Maestro, please. Great idea. The episode Raphael Meets His Match was a failed attempt at bringing a girl mutant into the show. Instead of a Renaissance painter, they named her after a painting, Mona Lisa. Of course, that's a painting by Leonardo, the real Leonardo. Yeah, pretty dumb. The evil turtle Slash is also introduced. You'd think they make him badass, but instead, he's another comic relief character, as if the show didn't have enough of them. He spends the whole episode looking for a palm tree that he calls his binky.
My binky, where is it?
What a stupid character.
My binky!
Not worthy of the name Slash. This season introduced other characters like Bugman and Ray Fillet. Several episodes don't even feature Shredder, Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady. The season finale is just an ordinary episode. It's called Unidentified Flying Leonardo. Well, basically a UFO's flying around and Leonardo gets mistaken for an alien. Shredder and company aren't even in it. No big Technodrome battle, no big finish, nothing happens. Overall, Season 4 had its moments, but not as good as before. In the spring of 1991 came the second live-action movie, this time upping the ante by having the Turtles fight against other mutants, 2 new characters named Tokka and Razar, instead of Bebop and Rocksteady. Oh, and of course there was Vanilla Ice. You look back and think how stupid it was, but at the time, Vanilla Ice was popular and it didn't seem that weird, especially for a 10-year-old. I loved this movie and it got me excited about the idea of more upcoming Turtle movies. But with that said, there was one thing left that rejuvenated my interest in the cartoon show. On one special night in the late summer of '91 came an hour-long primetime special, Planet of the Turtleoids, not to be confused with the episode Planet of the Turtles, or Invasion of the Turtleoids, which was a fake drive-in movie. This special introduced more characters and consequently more action figures, like Tattoo, Ground Chuck, and Dirtbag.
Now you need names. What do you want to call yourselves?
The animals call me Dirtbag.
The Turtles are recruited to a distant planet to help a race of alien turtles defend themselves from a 2-headed dragon named Herman the Horrible. This plot draws strong similarities to Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, where aliens from Planet X want the people of Earth to help them fight the 3-headed dragon, King Ghidorah. In the end, the Turtles find out the dragon is fake, and they go back to Earth to fight the new Technodrome and a robot named Chrome Dome. For an hour's worth of animation, they packed a lot in there. Maybe that's the reason I liked it, because there was so much going on. Maybe it was also because it came out at the right time. The second movie was no longer playing in theaters, and the next season of the cartoon was still on the way. It's not the best or the worst. It has lots of dumb jokes.
That cave must be where Herman lives.
I wonder if he owns or rents.
They break the fourth wall all the time.
Listen, if he starts singing, I'd advise you to switch over to another channel.
But when it came out, this was very enjoyable. Unfortunately, it's never been released on DVD, yet the sequel episodes were Return of the Turtleoid and Escape from the Planet of the Turtleoids. Season 5 starts out with The Turtles and the Hare. We already had Usagi Yojimbo. Did we really need another rabbit on the show? More characters were introduced, like Mondo Gecko, Muckman, Mutagen Man, and even Shredder's brother. The Technodrome is located in the North Pole for most of the time. The continuity is a little off. First it's down in a cavern of ice, then it's back out, and then it's back down again. One of the worst episodes, called Donatello's Bad Time, is about hillbillies that steal the turtle van.
Ooh, look at this birdie one.
One of the better ones was Once Upon a Time Machine. Here, the turtles visit their older selves.
Great! We'll show them what turtle powder can do!
For some reason, they felt the need to throw that awful rabbit in there again. It's a decent episode, but unfortunately, this one isn't on DVD either, and was totally ignored on the Season 5 set. With no new Turtle movie the following year, it seems that interest in Ninja Turtles was starting to decline. The number of episodes seemed to reflect this, as we went from 47 episodes a season, gradually dropping to 16 with Season 6. And it would only keep going down from there. With Season 6, it seemed they were trying to focus on fewer episodes to make them better and keep them fresh. They didn't use Shredder and company quite as much. There's a shocking episode called Krankenstein Lives, where Krang's body actually starts talking.
Entering level 4. Zarkonian spaceship sighted.
In the episode Super Irma, there's a pretty cool fight between the Turtles and Krang and Shredder. This kind of thing should have happened more often. Rock Around the Block was a pretty good one. We get to see more of General Trag and an army of rock monsters. Some of the dumber highlights include the Turtles turning into little kids in Adventures in Turtle Sitting and Vernon's nephew in Too Hot to Handle. Even April's aunt comes back in Sleuth on the Loose, which happens to be the last episode of the season. That's what I call a season finale. Yay, April's aunt.
Oh, this is so cool!
Spring of 1993 saw the release of the third live-action movie. The less said, the better. Not enough action, no villains from the show, not even Shredder, and way too many dumb jokes.
Help, I'm a turtle and I can't get up.
This is pretty much what killed Ninja Turtles for me personally. By now, as a kid, I was no longer watching the show. Season 7 has some pretty good animation. We learn a little fun fact in the episode The Legend of Koji. Apparently, the Foot Clan got its name from a dragon footprint in the dirt.
Here in the footprint of the dragon, we form our new clan, the Foot Clan.
The Legend of Koji was one of the best episodes of the season. It has lots of sword fighting and a fire-breathing dragon. Night of the Dark Turtle is an interesting one. Donatello sort of turns into an evil version of Batman. Also, the Triceratons from the comics make an appearance. I've been waiting for that to happen. Night of the Rogues was definitely an interesting one. It brings together Shredder, Rat King, Slash, Leatherhead, Tempesta, Scumbug, Anthrax, and Chrome Dome. This may have been the biggest ensemble of TMNT villains ever in the show, although the voices were terrible.
He's right, I guarantee.
Dirk Savage, Mutant Hunter, introduced Toka and Razar, way after the second movie. Here, they never explain their origin, at least not explicitly. Also, these are not the same animalistic grunting character as before. Now, they actually talk more intelligently.
I know just how you feel, Razor. I'm starving.
Toka, you're the only friend I've got.
Mondo Gecko and the Frogs show up too, so they really utilize their characters this season. In Invasion of the Krangazoids, Krang clones himself, so there's 7 Krangs total. That's what I call a good idea. Krang doesn't use his body as much, and now he's always in a machine called a Bubble Walker. Another thing really weird is that they give Krang a bit of backstory. Apparently, this is supposed to have been his original body.
You 3 runts will make a delicious snack.
When I saw that, my head exploded. Another fun fact, you ever want to know April O'Neil's middle name?
Hey, Danger is my middle name!
I thought your middle name was Harriet.
There you go. I guess it's Harriet. The final episode, Shredder Triumphant, was the first real season finale in years. It involves Dimension X, the Technodrome, all the good stuff. Guess who defeats Krang? Irma!
Alien scum!
Holy shit, that was unexpected. It ends with the Technodrome being sent to Dimension X again, but without Shredder and Krang, so now they're running around loose on Earth, and it's sort of a cliffhanger. Season 8 marks a significant change. The most obvious is the new intro and new theme song. What's really strange about this intro is that they use clips from the live-action movies. What does that have to do with the show? The animation became darker, and the skies were red, which is why fans call these last 3 seasons the Red Sky seasons. Lots of main characters start getting phased out, the Channel 6 building gets destroyed, and we start seeing less of Byrne, Vernon, and Irma. April O'Neil finally stops wearing that banana raincoat. One thing that kinda sucks about these later seasons is that the Shredder voice is not the same. It used to be James Avery, better known as Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The Rat King is given glowing red eyes and looks way meaner than before. There's a character called Megavolt, which is like Darth Vader with a disfigured face underneath a cyborg mask. A new main villain is introduced named Titanus, leader of an army of mutants. Basically, he replaces Shredder for about 3 episodes, until he gets sent back in time and we never see him again. He wasn't that interesting of a character anyway. Shredder and company return in the episode Cyber Turtles, a good one with giant robots and our favorite maniac, Casey Jones. The season finale, Turtle Trek, is the last big finale with the classic villains. The Turtles go into Dimension X looking for Shredder. They find a prisoner who agrees to help them in exchange for his freedom. But along the way, they get into all kinds of trouble as the prisoner is actually double-crossing them. There's some okay fighting scenes, and there's a lot of interaction between the Turtles disagreeing over which course of action they should follow. Other than that, it's an average episode. The final confrontation is rushed. Bebop and Rocksteady are quickly pushed aside, Shredder is dropped into a vat of chemicals, and the Technodrome falls into a pit and gets attacked by giant tentacles. It's a shame it couldn't be a little better because it's the last finale with the classic villains. In Season 9, there's no Shredder and company. The new main villain is an alien warlord named Lord Dreg, not to be confused with Captain Dread from the episode Escape from the Planet of the Turtleoids. Lord Dreg uses a lot of the same vocabulary as Shredder.
Every move I make, those wretched mutants get in the way.
But he's played in a more serious manner than Shredder. He's more evil and competent, instead of just being a complete fool. One thing he does is try to convince the citizens of Earth that he's their hero and the Turtles are their enemies.
Citizens, I will always be here to protect you from criminals and those mutant turtles.
Why would anyone believe an evil-looking alien with red eyes and sharp teeth? There's one episode that has a villain named Kronos who's obsessed with time. He looks sort of like the Riddler and even does the Frank Gorshin laugh. I hate this character. It's a good thing he didn't stick around. There's a new main hero, a 5th member to the Ninja Turtles, a young guy named Carter who's trained in martial arts. He fights alongside them, hangs out in their lair. Basically, he joins the Turtles permanently. April's still around, but doesn't spend as much time with the Turtles as before. I'm not sure where the idea Carter came from, but he may have been based on Kino from the second movie. The difference with Carter is that he changes into a mutant for brief periods of time. It's a lot like the Incredible Hulk, but the change seems to happen randomly. I always like how it seems the clothing is part of the mutation, like when he mutates the clothes disappear. And then they come back. This character is okay, but not interesting enough to sustain the whole series. I think making him part of the Turtles wasn't such a good idea. He may be a teenage mutant, but he's not a Ninja Turtle. Another big part of these last 2 seasons that goes way too far is that Donatello is studying the mutagen that originally mutated them and finds that it's unstable and that they're still mutating.
It's becoming unstable, and the mutations it caused could be unstable too. You mean we could still be mutating?
So every now and then the Turtles turn into these overgrown, violent brutes. It seems like this happens in 90% of the episodes, and it gets old really fast. In the Season 9 finale, the Turtles get their hands on a crystal that stabilizes their mutations. Thank God that's over. Nope. Right from the beginning of Season 10, Donatello is testing the mutagen thing again, still trying to get their mutations under control. Seriously, they're still fucking mutating.
We've got to find a way to stabilize our mutations.
It goes on and on and on. In this season, Leonardo is mutated the most, and certain episodes, he's mutated the whole time. Shredder and Krang return for 3 episodes: The Power of 3, A Turtle in Time, and Turtles to the Second Power. Lord Dreg transports them from Dimension X and steals the knowledge from Krang. As a result, Krang keeps appearing on Dreg's head. That's really bizarre. Imagine if your brain was a Krang. You'd think that the very last episode to feature Krang and Shredder would be a big deal, but it gets brushed over like it's nothing. All the villains are inside a lab. The Turtles rush in and grab Dreg along with his army of bat creatures and throw them all into a flat surface where they get zapped with a beam that transports them into Dimension X. Then the Turtles run out of the building, and there's no mention to what happened to Shredder and Krang. They were clearly in the same room, and they were not transported to Dimension X like all the other villains. The show literally cuts away and ignores that Krang and Shredder were ever there. Dreg continued to be the main villain, but there were some episodes that featured somebody different, like the episode Mobster from Dimension X, which had a guy called the Glob Father. In the second to last episode, The Day the Earth Disappeared, Splinter goes aboard Dreg's spaceship and starts kicking some ass again. It's nice to see him getting in on the action one last time. In the final episode of the entire series, Divide and Conquer, the Turtles come up with a plan to fight Lord Dreg with Krang's android body. It's a neat concept, except that it all happens in the last 10 minutes. They get the idea, they go to Dimension X, they immediately find the Technodrome, which is abandoned. They think they find the body, but surprise, surprise, it's just some kind of creature that happens to look like Krang's body. Maybe Krang knew about that thing before, and that's what he based the blueprint off of. So then they find the real body and bring it back to fight Dreg. Donatello explains that the body can expand atoms, so they're using it to grow to giant size, like Krang did in the first season. That was when Donatello destroyed the molecular expander chip. Krang also made his body grow large in the episode Krankenstein Lives. It makes you wonder why he didn't do this more often.
Excellent! It's working perfectly!
So they grow the body and get inside, they fight with it, and everything's good. But wait, now Donatello says the strain on the atoms is too much and that the body is going to implode. Okay, basically anything happens in the show. After a brief fight with Dreg, they defeat him. In the final scene, Splinter no longer considers himself the Turtles' sensei because they've learned enough and are now his equal.
And I am proud to be your equal.
You mean proud to be our sensei, don't you?
Sensei means leader or guide, but you no longer need a guide.
I know they may not have been aware that this would be the last episode ever, but for a series finale, this was really rushed. I wish the stuff with the Krang body would have started happening earlier in the episode rather than being crammed into the last 10 minutes. In conclusion, the final 3 seasons are a refreshing change of pace. They have 8 episodes each, making them the shortest since the first season. As a result, it looks like they've taken more care and attention to the animation. In the past, we'd always see mistakes.
I'm Leonardo.
The color of the Turtles' bandanas would change all the time, or they'd speak in the wrong voice.
Boy, I hate to say it, but this time he really might conquer the world.
I've counted about 100 animation mistakes in the series, but with these later seasons, that doesn't happen as much. In 2003, there was a new series which ran for 7 seasons. The series finale, Turtles Forever, was a 3-part special where the new Turtles meet the old Turtles.
Who the shell are you guys?
It's an amazing crossover made possible by interdimensional traveling and a lot of imagination. It acknowledges every incarnation of the Turtles that exists. They go back to the comic book realm and meet the original black and white Turtles, and even makes small reference to the live-action Turtles. Shredder, Krang, and the Technodrome all make an appearance. Even Irma has a walk-by cameo. The only thing that could have made it better is if they got the original voice actors. From what I've heard, there was some kind of union problem. A shame they couldn't resolve it, whatever it was.
What the shell?
Well, it was one hell of a task to watch every episode of the original series, but I've done it. In the mid-90s, I wasn't even aware the show was still going on. In fact, April O'Neil actually uses the internet.
Wow, the internet is great for researching stories.
That goes to show how long it went. The internet came out. It was probably the longest running cartoon ever until The Simpsons beat it. Even though Ninja Turtles started with the comics, it was the show that launched it into the mainstream pop culture. So through ups and downs, we always appreciate the show. Long live Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.